One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
You think me mad?
An elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of a barrel. They sound like the
Snake eyes.
She chuckles.
If you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
I bet that's just what they'll look like. Rolling dice. Deciding fates. Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy smile on her lips.
Never say never, though.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with him.
She eyes you quite seriously.
Not the future, no. But I can read the past in flesh. One of the perks of being an elf, you see. I'm quite good at it, too. I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a cat grooming.
Can we just skip to the part where
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. A dark, dank place. I remember it well. As everyone lay sleeping, you sat in the dark with wakeful eyes, looking rather lovingly at... me! Huh. My, aren't you a pretty cup full of sugar and spice?
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, then nest. Your
Of course it is. The truth's right there, skin deep. But don't you worry, darling. Your secret's safe with me. I don't lick and tell.
the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with him.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've
A
seen
scruffy
more
man
outside.
lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile playing on his face, he stares across at the Magister guarding him. Noticing you, he straightens and beckons for you to come closer.
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board, and I'd bet 3 months' pay it's this trampy fan.
Rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning, the man named Ifan beckons again.
Don't you get saucy?
He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your neck. He winks.
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifan. And now, you.
We used to know each other, more's the pity. I was his commander many, many, many moons ago. Isn't that right, Vic?
Standing far back from Ifan, the tight-faced Magister draws one finger across his throat in an elaborate fashion, but says nothing. Ifan grins, flashing pointed white teeth.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny Big Pants. Long story. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the joy. Away from interested parties. No. The dead man, Finn, is it? I'd no business with him. And I wouldn't put a man down without good reason.
He glances over at Magister Victor, who's staring back at him with pointed intensity.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough.
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite.
The joy, I've heard a lot. Nothing good. No surprise there, since Bishop Alexander runs the show. Wonder if we'll get to meet the ringmaster himself. Easy now. I might think the same, but Vic here will blow a blood vessel if he hears you talking like that.
What are you conspiring about over there? You! What's your name?
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet. And that bee is me.
Name?
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible down in a tiny notebook. He scowls at you as he stows the notebook back in his voluminous robes.
Away with you, at once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet, one finger in front of his lips as he leans back against the wall.
Have a few questions for you. You are chill, aren't you?
I ain't saying nothing.
I spent my life singing for my slaves to bring me my supper. Finer fare than boiled roots and rotten tubers, too. Meanwhile, the Magisters feast on honeyed meat behind this very wall. The indignity.
Your kind always hung closest.
Well, what have we here? A fresh face in this stale hell. Let's size you up, shall we? See if you'll...
The lizard looks you up and down, like a farmer would a fetching horse. All of a sudden, he grips you firmly by the chin, with the intent of inspecting your teeth.
It was one of them. I know it.
You put a knuckle in it. I'm trying to concentrate.
I'm inspecting your teeth, in case that wasn't spectacularly obvious.
I'll give you that knuckle.
There's some discoloration, but I've seen worse. After all, one can't expect to find prime merchandise on a squalid little ship like this.
Skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up.
Now then, to business. You will answer me 3 questions. The first one is this.
Mad,
Can you cook?
insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll
Oh,
tell
goodness,
you
no.
quiet long
And don't even mention the demon's testes that are turnips. On to the second question. Can you knit, weave? In short, tailor?
Right. I always knew you'd turn up rotten Ben.
Yes, I can tell from your vagabond chic, a bag is as good as a shirt kind of style. I shouldn't be getting my hopes up. On then to my final query. Have you the ability to administer the upkeep of one's personal appearance? The delicate art of cosmetics is what I'm after.
It was one of them. I know it.
The very basics, then. I suppose that's... So, 3 questions asked, 3 questions answered. Let's evaluate. As per your own testimony, you can groom, but you have the taste buds of a dung beetle and the fashion sense of a monkey in a clown suit. That won't do at all, see? I'm sad to say I must deny you the opportunity to be my slave. Ever so sorry.
You think me mad?
mad, insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
My slave, of course. Oh, but I see. Yes, I suppose it must take some time for the full extent of my disheartening refusal to sink in. Still, hone your skills, and one day you may just qualify for a position in a lesser household than mine. You keep dreaming, you hear?
Like wolves around a campfire.
You one of them? A divine order loyal? They killed a sorcerer, you know. They'll hide the evidence well enough, but make no mistake.
A broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, Ghetto. You hear that? Kid, you been down by the room up the hall? No. You sure about that? No. What's your name?
He opens both eyes and turns his head toward you, looking you up and down. He smiles and closes his eyes once more.
You look like a girl to me. Listen, if you're interested. Or get gone if you aren't. The ship, of course.
I always knew you'd turn up rotten, then messed.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you, complaints from the sea itself.
And?
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
The fellow cocks his ear, listening.
That isn't anger, it's
He cocks his ear to the other side, then smiles.
anticipation. She senses something. I'd hold on to my breeches if I were you, mate. That's all you hear, though. Listen close.
I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend
There
to
now,
go away.
just like that.
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty.
Aha!
That has the Magisters more concerned than your
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back. The other catches you before you lose your footing.
There, you heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, kiddo. Good news.
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
It's the wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east. Burn my beard. That means if we've been traveling for, yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy.
Plague-stricken pigs.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty. Turnips and water are all I was given.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on
Captain,
anything less than a
actually. And that figure tells me we're getting close to the Joy. Close to what lies beyond it, too.
Your Majesty.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes roll over to you.
with me when you clearly don't know the
That'll be all. Thank ye kindly, kiddo.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard.
He continues stroking his beard, a beatific smile on his lips, and doesn't acknowledge you anymore.
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a
If
campfire.
you'll be pardoning me, I'll be much obliged.
You've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
Hey! I know who you are! You're a singer! My mum likes you.
It was one of them. I know it.
I know you. I heard you sing once. Before. Out there. Wow.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
And we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up.
Something mad. What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
That right? You rotten, then messed. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire. As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship.
It seems as though there's a pattern in the blood flow. That can't be natural.
Oh, the hatch is blocked. I'll need to find another way.
Gods, didn't your mother teach you any manners?
Rubbish.
Forget it.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty. Turnips and water are all I was given.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
The woman keeps rolling her dice. She
So, anything interesting for me? I'll take that as a no.
You've been collared and you've been told why. There really is no need for you to linger. Who are you? Nobody?
Behind the Magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting... Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. It's a small ship. His name was Finn. Oddball. Looked to me like he saw something he wished he hadn't before he came here. We'll find out who did it, one way or another.
A young Magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass.
No lesions, no trauma. He was bled by magic.
What a well of knowledge this tome is. Dallas is such a dear lending it to me.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty.
Here's the register, ma'am. Good, good. Magister Williams has just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far?
He tugs the collar of his uniform and chuckles.
Sorry you're upset, ma'am, but we all wear what we wear for a reason. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
The elf is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He looks up, his big round eyes scanning your body, absorbing every detail. He reaches out and takes your hand, turning it this way and that, examining it from every angle.
Fascinating.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen more appetizing...
I have already examined it and found it quite ordinary. What more could I possibly... Oh dear. I seem to have crossed some cultural taboo. How difficult. You have my apologies, human. Perhaps I should demand the same from those red-cloaked humans. They laid their hands on me more than once.
Your Majesty, maybe that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
Perhaps. Perhaps not. Understanding is all rather relative. Take this book, for example. I understand all of it, and yet none of it makes sense. It is simultaneously too detailed and insufficient. I know the beginning of this tale and the end, but I am rather missing the middle. Tell me, what do you know of our world's history? Most unusual, and if it's not too rude to suggest, not much of an answer. No, I want to know about the Celestial. I want to know about your gods. This text tells me that they created all creatures, but nothing of what came before. Where did these gods come from? Who are their people? Where are the others of their kind? Of course you don't have any useful information. Why did I expect anything else? Now, please, run along. I have a world to decipher.
No amount of pestering will get the elf to take his eyes off his book or respond to your questions.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
It means your journey draws to a close. Do stick around for its finale, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happened?
dwarf lies in a heap on the floor, his great beard twisted and tangled around him. He is The dwarf lies in a heap on the floor, his great beard twisted and tangled around him. You hear a faint thud, thud, thud.
Oh! What? What happened? Must have been the turnips. Water? Wine, for goodness sake! Oh!
The lizard's eyes close as he slips into unconsciousness. Ifan lies motionless, curled on the ground like an apple. His eyes flicker open, but he doesn't register your presence at all.
Lucien. Lucien.
Ifan cries out, then his eyes fall closed again. No matter how much you shake him now,
No, not the final dark. Not yet.
it's no use. Your words do not seem to...
The dice roll darkly. They're rolling for me.
Nobody?
The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious and bleeding from a dire-looking wound.
God damn it! Need to get off this wreck and quick. Damn! That doesn't bode well. Onwards and upwards. Not long before this thing snaps into splinters. Something's pounding on the hull.
You pass through the door and are suddenly face to face with an undead. His skull is bizarrely angular, and the skeleton is quickly leafing through a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia, muttering to himself.
No, no, no! What damn fools record knowledge on a pulped tree? It catches fire, it turns into must when wet, it cannot even resist acid! No wonder they're so bloody ignorant.
The skeleton looks up and notices you for the first time.
Oh, it's you. Shouldn't you be running and screaming or some such?
The skeleton groans and looks back to his book, frantically flipping from page to page.
Yes, indeed. It's the look of someone that wants to read the bloody book he's holding. Now, if you're really quite finished, I believe you have lifeboats to flee to. Please, I was no more an elf than you are those rags you're wearing. I had a mask, rather ingeniously designed, which allowed me to take that primitive form. A mask that was stolen by that damned witch after her little scene. Still, she'll drown with the rest of these fools, and I will simply pluck my mask from her cold, dead hands. Indeed. Just as sensible as getting off a sinking ship and leaving a fellow to his business. I would say good day, but it seems quite likely that you're about to die a rather terrible death, so...
The skeleton shrugs casually and returns to his... The door was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You don't recognize the symbol, but it's clearly warning you away. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm, but simply grey. The color drains from your hand, and you are left numb. It doesn't budge.